Our next session, Technology, Revolutionizing Energy Consumption. Our energy future will be defined in each home, office, and factory in America. Abundant, diverse technologies await in the wings to tell users and their providers details about the options before them like never before. What are some of the most promising innovations? What will they accomplish? And how they are likely to evolve will be the topic of this panel discussion. Joining me on the stage, we have four distinguished panelists. Eric Dresselhaus, Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer from Silver Springs Networks. David Green, Executive Vice President, Customers and Markets for North America, Elster Solutions. Mark Reed, Director of Communication Engineering for Census. And Russ Vanos, who's playing the role of Rich Cregan today, Vice President of Marketing for Itron.
We've had some major technology breakthroughs. We've moved away from proprietary systems to open interoperable solutions. We have deployments going out at large scale now, and I would say to a comment that was made on the last panel, if you've read or heard even in the sessions today of 2 million units at Southern Company, 5 million units announced in the field yesterday at PG&E, these are all pre-stimulus, so there's no stimulus funding driving any of those activities. Stimulus money hasn't flowed yet. So we think that that's upside. So the recommendations or my thought starters for the panel are, first off, we have to keep building Smart Grid 1.0. We have not nearly enough penetration or convergence in the market that we need. There's a lot of big projects announced, more projects coming with stimulus, but there's a lot of work to do, and we have to keep on doing it. But the important lesson that we should all learn is how do we compress the time to value? If you can take it from me or during the panel, folks like Oklahoma Gas and Electric, PHI, who have been here at the conference, are doing a great job of that. They're not letting years go past before they engage the consumer. They're doing that right away.
When we start talking about the customer and the benefits of Smart Grid, everything gets squishy all of a sudden, and it's tough because we all are customers. And to make the point, I find it interesting. Here's our challenge. I'll read just a blurb from the summary of this panel. Diverse new technologies wait in the wings to tell energy users and their providers details about the options before them. And that's the challenge. We've heard a lot of discussion around infrastructure, new technologies, regulation, legislation. What about the customer? I just heard the question posed in the previous panel. What is the problem we are trying to solve? We heard Sharon Allen from Accenture yesterday articulate how the industry is struggling as we are trying to address the complexity of these back office operations, the multitude of systems and applications that have to be pieced together in a way that really provides a seamless integration of new technologies, no longer behind the meter, or in front of the meter between the substation back to the power station, but now behind the meter in homes and businesses, and that really is the challenge. How do we bring our customers along? So to me, the problem that we're trying to solve, number one, is we have to have an informed customer base. People make good, rational decisions when they know what they're talking about. I suspect everyone in this room, if I asked you, would 500 minutes a month meet all your wireless communication needs? You could probably instantly tell me the answer. And like me, if you have two daughters, you know very well what that answer is. But if I also asked, would 1,150 kilowatt hours meet all your energy needs for the month? Most customers, they have a blind look, that deer in the headlight look. They don't even know what a kilowatt hour is, much less be able to associate it with their daily lives and how they consume and use energy.
I think the promise of the smart grid is that we will be able to make micro decisions and we'll be able to change the behavior of people in a home. One of the ways that we do that is with providing information to the user, with providing it on a real-time basis. Also, I think to make the financial goals of the utility and the consumer match, we need to find a way to align those goals together. How can we make, when energy is expensive for the utility, make it expensive for the customer, but let the customer participate in that process?
Well, I think a couple of things. And I would say that 1.0, 2.0, and whatever 3.0 looks like is hard to predict, but they're going to be building blocks on top of each other. It's not competing ideas. They're just next generations. I think it's going to be focused on a couple of things. First, from a consumer side, I'll echo what Russ and everybody else said. It's going to be about consumer engagement. I don't know what technologies and what flavors people will want. The example we talked at dinner last night at our table was, if you look at the variety of products in a grocery store, and I use the example of the bar soap category, 94% household penetration in the bar soap category. Go look at all the flavors, bundle packs, and sizes that it takes to make 94% of the households happy. And I don't know what the other 6% of the people do, but we've got to get a lot of the discussion that happened during the other panels today was all about trying to come up with these absolutes, if everybody's going to want that or nobody's going to want that. And I think that's been a problem in the industry.
I agree. I think we're hung up, quite frankly, on trying to envision what are all those consumer devices and ways of engagement and benefit. And to me, I think Smart Grid 1.0, and I think John Arnold from Microsoft said it well, in a lot of ways, we're in an enabling phase right now. Just as we didn't go from Internet 1.0 to the iPhone in one iteration, it took a lot of innovation, a lot of risk, quite frankly. It took a lot of failures along the way before we got to that point. So I do think 1.0 looks very much, especially as it interfaces with the customer, that being our utility customers, very much an enabling phase of smart grid.
One of the questions that have come in is, with the advances in telecom, the rates have gone down significantly. How is it that with all of the technological advances in energy, the costs will go up? In other words, why do I want smart grid if it's going to be more expensive for me?
Being centralized generation, centralized wires, and we heard some of the speakers this morning talk about the challenges of scale, the enormity of scale. Much less, it's one thing developing wind and solar, and then it's quite another challenge on the 200-mile transmission line, siting that to hook it to the grid. So I think that's part of the challenge, and that's where we are right now in the cost of some of the physical infrastructure. The renewable technologies, while they're out there, they're just simply not out there at a utility scale to compete on some of the base load and even the mid-generation sources that we have today.
You know, there is a considerable investment in the smart grid, but I think even before utilities undertake investing in them, they can demonstrate a pretty good return of investment in a pretty short amount of time because of all the internal efficiencies they experience. So.
Sure.
Yeah, I would just add that while the cost, of delivering energy may go up after the technology is installed, not installing the technology to keep the cost down is not the answer. It would be much greater than putting the technology in place. And drawing the comparison to the telecom industry, I don't know about any of you, but 10 years ago, my telephone bill at home, my telecommunications bill was $45 a month. Today, with 4 women, 3 daughters and a wife, and myself on cell phones, our cell phone bill, our telecommunication bill, not including cable, by the way, which is $225. My cell phone bill is $450. So I don't know that my telecom costs went down. Now, I have a lot of capabilities that I didn't have for that $45 bill. That's the vision in the smart grid. So maybe costs will go up eventually. They're going to go up. But hopefully we'll have a lot more capabilities, a lot more. It's about choice and making our market more free. Go to Texas and see what they've been able to do there in terms of really opening up a market and taking retailers and really injecting innovation into the whole pricing mechanism around the marketplace. They've been able to do that because of technology.
It says, in Europe, customer behavior is partially changed by mandate. What if we lose the bet on customers' behavior changing? then what? Will we force customer behavior change?
Well, I don't think we can force anything. We can incentivize the customer to change their behavior. And the little demonstration I showed you, I can tell you from experience, it changed my family's behavior pretty markedly, and it was strictly based on an incentive. They knew that there was a higher bill to pay, which I guess I paid, so I don't know why they were so invested in it. But they did seem to get on board pretty well.
Anybody else
Yeah,
like?
I don't know if we're going to really change behavior. I think you're going to give them more choices. I go to my mom's house. She has every light turned off in the house, and she's got the TV on, and she's watching TV. And I always ask her about that. You know what her answer is? I don't want to have a big electric bill. Her electric bill is about $140 a month in Spokane, Washington, fairly reasonable. But her solution to that is turn off every light in the house. You heard Malcolm this morning talk about his mother-in-law, it's a true story, who turns off her pilot light to save energy. So I think by installing these technologies, we'll give my mother, now she's not going to do what my granddaughter does, she's not going to be on the iPhone, but there'll be other tools, whether they're webs, simple green light, red light displays, there'll be some kind of tool that we can give her to maybe have a light on and still enjoy a low electricity bill.
Yeah, I would agree, Bart. You even mentioned once upon a time we didn't make long-distance phone calls until after certain hours of the day, and now with the right pricing signals, with the right synergies across the entire telecom space, that's a non-issue. And I quickly learned in my own family with two daughters how I needed to have the right combination of voice, text, and download capabilities around music and video, but the right pricing signals. My behavior did change, but it changed to my preferences, and I managed to now that optimum price point for my needs. And I don't think you can mandate that, but I think a combination of the right products and services, the right pricing signals, that delivers a good customer experience. It also delivers the intended outcome and the objectives, in this case, telecommunications. And I think very much the same can be achieved in energy.
I don't think we're taking the choice away from consumers. We're providing automation that can do things, but all of it is overridable. You know, if I choose to have a party during the creek peak use time, then that's my choice, and I can override the system.
Eric, anything to add? I'll share with you one more behavior change I had that I think is further evidence that people may respond to these signals. I think it was about last year I had to go up into Canada on business, and I keep a national plan with my cell phone plan. Wasn't thinking, was too busy, went to Canada and used my phone as much as I did always. The cell phone bill when I came back, some of you may remember roaming charges. Had they given me a signal, I can assure you I would have responded. I got an after the fact message.